Porter, I do want to add a couple of minutes if you don't mind. I've had probably about 20, 25 people ask me about Latin America and Medellin. And I want to talk to you about this because I know you and I have talked about possibly you looking at a plan B. It's a plan Brabsy, right?
Plan Brabsy, plan B.
Plan Brabsy. And I remember when I left Porter in 2015, he was like, bro, you're crazy. What are you doing? You're going to Medellin, Colombia? It's looking like...
I knew what you were doing.
Well, I was single at the time.
Who in Medellin, Colombia looks like Aaron?
I mean,
nobody.
I mean, the truth is up
Made
here.
him very popular with a certain subspecies of Colombians.
Here's the first thing that I learned: 5 foot 6.5 redhead. You got to have a lot of game up here, a lot. Which I do have a pretty good amount of game. Down there, I'm Brad Pitt Fight Club. So. Pick a place on Earth where you're unique and exotic, and your life will change radically really quickly.
Just tape your passport to your forehead.
Yeah.
Done.
Stand on your wallet, right?
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of people ask, and I'm very passionate about this. Porter knows as well. I think that it is wise to have a plan B. And what do I mean by plan B? I think Latin America is going to grow incredibly with Bukele in El Salvador, cleaning up all the crime, Bitcoin standard. You've got Malay, who's a libertarian. It's an experiment right now, but it's looking pretty solid. And if you've ever been down to Buenos Aires or Mendoza or Bariloche, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Uruguay.
I would tell you that I'm really optimistic about where El Salvador will be in 20 or 30 years. I just don't think it's for me until then.
I'm with you there. I'm not trying to go down there either. And I'm in Colombia, and we do have the first time that they've elected a liberal president. But like I said, they don't have the power of the purse there. There's no such thing as doling out money to buy votes. So people have kind of learned their lesson that was all false hopes right now. Plus, there's 4-year terms, and then you're out. Venezuela's our next-door neighbor. Unfortunately for everybody in here, you guys inherited all the criminals that they let out of the jails, and you can see what's already happening now. My biggest fear for the United States are the 22 to 30 million illegals, most of them being funded by the NGOs, which are our taxpayer dollars, and those funds getting cut off. And what happens when they don't have shelter, they don't have food, and they're not going home, and it's the winter time. They're coming to people's houses here. So my suggestion is go visit somewhere in South America. Colombia is very friendly, Argentina, even Chile. I would not recommend Brazil. I'm not a big fan of Lula, and you can see a lot of things happening over there, even with, I don't know, the fake judge or whatever that recently banned X. That's not a good start either, and there's a lot of other issues. But this is what I always tell Porter, and I tell my only close friends.
They didn't ban speech. They just banned the speech they don't like.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I always say. Porter, if you ever want to, like if you ever need to get out of here for emergency, get a private plane, whatever it is, land. I'll get you set up in a Airbnb mansion. I'll have a full-time chef. I'll have a driver. I'll have maid service, whatever you want.
Sounds like my farm.
Pretty much. So it's a lot cheaper. It's about 10% of the cost, right? And the reason why I say that is you don't have to stick it out if you don't want to. I am going to be living in a country where it's forgotten about. It's not on the global elites radar yet. And I think if they come for Colombia, which, by the way, they already control the narcotics down there, so they're perfectly happy laundering everything that they need to. But if they come for Colombia, the rest of the Western world is gone.
Yeah, I'm actually really optimistic about Argentina. Argentina has a very intelligent population. And almost everybody in Argentina is of Italian descent. If you've ever been to Argentina, it's a really beautiful culture, beautiful people, beautiful food, incredible climate, ridiculous natural resources, mountains, beaches, great culture, people, and everyone in Argentina. And your typical Argentine is an Italian who speaks Spanish and wishes he was British, which is a really good combination.
That's an absolute fact. So I visited with a couple of Colombian girls. They absolutely despise anyone from Latin America because they think they're European. That is an absolute fact. They have a little bit of arrogance.
I actually think that Buenos Aires is the last European city.
Yeah, great wine too.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. Anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know that it's very easy to settle. You don't even need to speak Spanish. It helps if you're going to live there permanently to be accepted by their culture. But Airbnbs will get you down there immediately.
Let me ask a show of hands. Is there anybody in the room that was with me when we did our investment tours of Argentina in 2003? Right here. Yep. 2. Great. I think it's time to do that again. And I'm going to call Eduardo Elstein this week and call Doug Casey and see if we can't do a tour of Uruguay, Salta Province, and Patagonia this year. Maybe spend 10 days down there and go look at some actual direct investment opportunities, hotels, tourist stuff.
Also, we've got Ronan from International Living as well. He's got
banks,
projects all
brokers, and we can get. I'm pretty good friends with Eduardo, who's the wealthiest person in the country. So we can really have a nice, connections, and it can be very nice. We will only. I know this from doing it before. The largest hotels in Patagonia can only accommodate about 25 people, so it'll have to be a small group.
Can we get a raise of hands over anybody that'd be interested in doing that
with me? Show of hands.
We might have about 25 people.
It's only going to cost maybe $150,000, $200,000 to come. It'd be really a good deal. I'm joking.
Pesos.
I'm joking.
Pesos.
No, we'll do it. We'll do it all at cost. We'll just figure out what it's going to cost, and we'll all split it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
In fact, we can have the fine folks at the fellowship help us out with the planning.
Yeah,
There's actually one Latin American stock in my watch list. Take a guess which one. Can you?
Cresud.
No, it's a Brazilian company, but it's a very profitable, very good business. It's WEG. So they're basically active in making transformers, things they use in EV and so on. Basically, what you talked about yesterday, all the criteria we are looking for in a company, well, it's covered there, and they should obviously benefit from everything that's going on in Latin America right now.
Sounds good. They have a lot of good farms in Brazil, too. Very productive farmland. There were some subscribers who are big-time farmers in Nebraska, and they talked about they've made huge investments in Brazil in farming because, dirt is dirt. And Brazil for a while was the cheapest high-quality dirt in the world. And, of course, Argentina also has some of the highest quality farms anywhere in the world. They've got 20 feet of topsoil in a lot of places in the Pampas. It's an incredible country.
Yeah, Colombia as well. Colombia's got some of the best coffee, but it's also got climate in the Andes Mountains. So it's average temperature of 77 degrees. And the great thing up there is it's all organic, local farmers, right? So when I'm in the streets and driving my car, every day on the weekends, there are several local farmers that have all their fruits and vegetables that they're selling.
So you've been living in Medellin for 10 years, for a decade.
Yeah, just about, right.
Yeah, and how many times have you been mugged or otherwise been a crime victim?
0. And I lived in downtown Baltimore for 4.5 years, and I promise you, it took me about 6 months to quit doing this when I was in Medellin, because I was literally thinking like somebody's going to come get you. Now, are there robberies? Yes. Are there thefts? Yes. Do you go everywhere in Colombia? No. Do you go everywhere in the United States? No. But the one thing we talked about on the show that I've come to respect is I thought, hey, maybe I'll stand out way too much with the blue eyes and red hair and all that stuff. Kind of like the attention a little bit. But people are incredibly kind. But there's something to say about a culture that's homogeneous and is Catholic, right? It's something that they all have in common. And I think that creates unity versus
So
division.
when you moved to Colombia, did you demand everybody around you follow your culture, or did you start following their culture?
That's exactly because it's a culture down there.
You're
right?
a racist.
And now here's what you have to do. You got to live, laugh, and love because they love to dance. There are probably 24 3-day weekends, and all you hear is music in the streets and people cooking together in communities. And even during COVID, they tried to lock down some areas like I was in, but the barrios, because there is no support, and all the police and all the military live in the barrios, they didn't try to put face masks on anyone, and they didn't close businesses.
COVID didn't happen in Miami Beach either. Everyone was like, fuck off.
Exactly.
There's a reason why the world's best informed investors read my daily journal. Subscribe for free at portersjournal.com.